This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Well, it's just about Halloween and it's time to see some ghosts. Because we're going to be taking a look at a game today called Fast Forward Fear. This is the first game in a new series called Fast Forward from Stronghold Games in North America, designed by Freedom and Freeze, the same person that did Power Grid. This is a new series that uses the Fabled System that was first launched in Fabled Fruit from last year, which almost made my family game of the year, where the game is going to change rules throughout the game. So let me show you how it's played, but I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Now here's how Fast Forward Fear starts, is there's just a top deck. It just tells you that, hey, it's 2 to 5 players. You'll start with it face down and you'll just start playing. You'll select the play to read the back of this card. This just gives you the basic rules. I'm not going to go into any spoilers. I'm just going to give you just the very basics of the game. It just tells you about it. So each player is going to start off by just simply drawing a card. Now on your turn, you can either draw a card or play a card. However, if you have 3 cards in your hand, you must play a card. So you're either drawing a card or playing a card, and at certain instances, you'll be interrupting play and reading things on the back, which will change rules and new rules will be implemented and different things will happen, which I am not going to show you. So when a player plays a card, if it's the first one there, they just put it in the middle face up, and they announce the sum of all the cards in the center. In this case, 7. Some of the cards have higher numbers, some of them are lower, some of them are negative, and we'll go to the next player. Now, as players are playing, they're either, again, picking up a card or playing it with 3 cards. You have to play it. Let's say this player adds that, and then they'll say 10, because they'll add up all the cards that are there. So let's say another player plays, and they say 13. Let's say the next player plays this, and we're at 15. Now this is important because if anybody were to go over 15, the game ends. Now, and that will happen in one of many ways, because if you have 3 cards, you're forced to play a card. If all the cards that you have in your hand forces you to go over to 15, like let's say this was my lowest card, and we went over 15, the player that played this would lose. Then all the other players would take the cards in their hand, and they would add up the points. This would be a bad hand to be stuck with at the end. It's great for playing because you'll stay alive, but it's bad at the end because this is -1. Whoever has the highest number after the one player loses basically wins, whoever has the highest. So this is a bad hand to have the game end with, but you're not quite sure when people are going to go out, so you're not really sure. The cards that were played by the loser and all their cards go out of the game and into the box, where all the rest of the cards and the ones in other people's hands get shuffled up and placed back on top. So there's a little bit of a memory element for the game going into it, knowing what's going on. Now, some of the cards actually have some special abilities and things, which I'm not going to show you. I don't want to ruin you some of the things that happen throughout the game. Now again, many of these cards have you stop and interrupt play and do certain specifics. Some of them will be ongoing rules and things like that. Rules will be changing. But once you get to the bottom of the pile, you can either, when you're done playing that game, you can either reset it up because all of the cards have numbers on them. You can renumber the cards up and reset it up as playing from the beginning again. Or if you're playing with the same group and everyone knows the rules, you can just simply shuffle all the cards together and things are going to come out in a more random style as opposed to the planned style that is built into the Fast Forward system. Play through one entire game here of all the different hands. It takes about 10 to 15 games. Well, I hope that helped you understand how the game kind of works without spoiling things. I wanted to keep it a secret because going through the deck is a lot of fun and learning new things. Now this Fabled System, I was super interested in this. In fact, this made my top 10 most anticipated games, the whole series of Fast Forward, because last year I loved Fabled Fruit. I loved the aspect of it was sort of a beginner gateway game, but every game felt different, and so I could play it with my non-gaming spouse, my wife in this case, where she doesn't play a whole lot, she doesn't like a whole lot of deep games, and she wants to play the same game and not have to learn new rules. And it was really cool because she could play it and feel like she's playing the same game, but I could play it and feel like I'm playing a different game and learning new rules. And I thought that was an awesome balance. So I was really interested in this. Now this is, so I think this Fast Forward gaming series is an excellent way to teach games. You open the pack, you put it down, someone reads the rules, you just start playing, you're like, okay, what's gonna happen? And then the rules slowly start to turn out as you need to learn things. It's really a great thing. It kind of reminds me of how the video games, maybe 20 years ago started using tutorials to teach you how to play. And this is not really a tutorial because you're really playing the full game, but you're just learning things a little bit at the time. I think this game really should, and this whole Fast Forward thing is great for, I think, mass market stores. This would be excellent for people that are at a big box store and the Walmarts, the Targets are there, and they're like, oh, what's this game? And they pick it up and they can just learn it. And it's not that much more difficult than Uno. It's got more going on than Uno and some of those other really light games. Fuji Flush, another one that had come up from Stronghold earlier. But there's a little bit more going on, but the rules are pretty simple and you'll learn as you go on. This game reminded me a lot of Red 7 when I'm playing it, because you're playing these cards, you're trying to just stay afloat, That feeling in Red 7 that I really loved, the same feeling I got while I played this. Granted, this one's probably a little lighter than that, I guess. Or as you go through the deck, there's more and more things that happen. So maybe towards the end, it's about the same weight as Red 7. Maybe a tad lighter, but I like that aspect of trying to just stay afloat, being able to play cards or being able to draw cards, not going over 15, but at the same time you're balancing, keeping high cards in your hand for scoring, and then being at more risk, because if you have a bunch of high cards and you draw your third card that's also a high card, it's not going to be good if it gets around to you, because you're forced to play something and you're going to make it go over 15, and it's like a press your luck thing. But if somebody else goes out before you, well, then you're probably going to win that round because you have all these high cards. So it's this interesting balance you're trying to force, where you want the low cards to be able to stay in, but you want the high cards to be able to score, and you don't want to have too many of one and not enough of another. It's a really cool idea trying to balance all those. Now, playing through the entire game takes about 10 to 15 games. The first time I played all the way through, it took us 16, but in average, it takes about that. And then afterwards, you can either reset it up and play it all the way through like that, or you can shuffle it and continue to play just as normal. Once everybody knows all of the rules, you just keep all the rule cards out there. And I like that it has this aspect where you can kind of reset it and play, or you can just randomly just play it just as a normal game now that you know all the rules. And I like that aspect of it. It's quite different from Fabled Fruit, which kind of always goes in order. And I really like that aspect of it. Now, any cons? Well, during one of the plays, we got sort of possibly stuck in weird loops. I don't want to tell you because I don't want to spoil it, but there's certain cards that you can't play at some points. And sometimes those are only all the cards we have. And of course, the person that would lose would end up removing their cards, so it's less apt to happen. But there was a time where 2 games in a row we get stuck in this weird loop, but then once those cards got discarded, we got through it. But that's just the unpredictability of these types of systems. And it didn't ruin the game, it was just something that you want to be aware that possibly could exist. Now this game is, I think, the system's awesome, as I said. I think it's a great way to learn, but the game is pretty light. It's a light enough game that you don't really need to have this series attached to this game, the way that the rules are taught, unless they really are going to go to mass market with it, then it totally needs to be in there. But this is a light game. You could easily have had this on 2 pages of rules, learn the game, pass them out just like any other card game. It didn't really need to be there, but I love the system. Anyways, I'm just kind of nitpicking here. I loved this game. I thought it was really cool. Very light though. Keep that in mind. This is a Freedom and Freeze game, but it is a light. Heavier than Fuji Flush, but I'd say a little bit lighter than Red 7. So keep that in perspective. I think you'll enjoy it with that going into it. And I like that you can reset it and play with a new group and just play. I played it with my mother-in-law, my wife's grandmother, and their niece, all, and we just flip it up, teach rules, you go on. It worked great. So I like this game enough because it's so unique that I'm going to be keeping it in my gaming library. So it's getting a saxophone serenade. So here we go.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.